Chapter 10. We ended up going to Ethan's ranch. It was a safe place to run, and while we were there, it let Devin check the status of the preparations for the upcoming party. Devin made the rounds, stopping to speak with each of the enforcers who were working on clearing the area for the visitors and digging the pit for the bonfire. He made sure everything was going as planned and would be ready on time. Then he came back to the truck where I'd opted to wait. We stripped out of our clothes. I folded mine and put them in the seat of the truck before bending down to shift. I shivered in the frigid breeze. It was almost dark, the temperature was dropping fast. Somewhere near 40 degrees was my best guess. I pushed the cold from my mind, closed my eyes and pictured my wolf form. With the picture in my mind, I willed my body to take that form. After only a few seconds, a sharp tingle spread through my body. My bones moved and skin stretched as the magic washed through me. When the tingling faded, I shook my entire body, trying to rid myself of the sensation, then stretched muscles I hadn't used or even had in a long time. Devin appeared around the front of the truck, his amber eyes bright against his dark fur. The thick layer of my own coat buffered me from the wind and chill that I knew hadn't changed. "Ready to go?" he sent. More than ready. I started toward the brushy desert to the east of the house, away from where the men were clearing space for the party at a trot. My pace increased the closer I got, until I was flat out running. The wind ruffled through the fur on my face, pushing a myriad of scents at me. I resisted the urge to stop and investigate. Instead, I ran harder, putting distance between myself and my human worries. I wove in and out of the brush with ease, barely even thinking about what I was doing. The sound of quiet footfalls behind me let me know that Devin was matching me step for step. The sound was reassuring, and I continued to race through the scattered flora. I don't know how long I'd been racing through the desert when Devin's voice broke into my mind. "You're starting to slow down, are you getting tired?" "Not tired really, but I've lost the feeling of being chased." "Chased? Chased watch stock. I didn't know you were feeling that way." I didn't either until I started running. I just knew something was off. I slowed to a walk and turned to look at my mate a moment, then walked calmly beside him. In human form, I hated running. It was one of my least favorite forms of exercise, but as a wolf, I loved it. Instead of the boredom and monotony I felt on 2 legs, running on 4 was exhilarating. It made me feel free. I was tempted to find a sheltered spot, curl up and take a nap, but I knew the temperature would drop below freezing tonight, and even with fur, that's a little too cool for me. "How far is it back to the truck, do you think?" "At least a mile, maybe a little more." We didn't run as long as I thought it might have been. "You ran for about 20 minutes, but not in a straight line. You dodged in and out, curved around and skirted the ranch." "It wasn't on purpose, I was just letting my instincts guide me." "How far do you think we've gone?" "Probably 5 or 6 miles. "Wow." I turned my head to stare at him a moment. It was an awkward movement in this form. I was really zoned out. "You needed it." He leaned over and bumped me with one shoulder as we continued walking. I licked his face in response. Slowly, we made our way back to the ranch house where the truck was parked, and shifted again. I put on his coat again, because mine wasn't heavy enough to stop my shivering. He gave the enforcers still there directions on what he wanted to be done the next day, while I wandered around looking at what had already been done. "You ready?" he called to me when he was done. I was several hundred feet away, at the far end of the space being cleared for parking. I'd been looking for pretty rocks or old shards of pottery. Sometimes they were easier to see in the dim light of twilight because light reflected differently. "Sure." I used telepathy to respond, because I didn't feel like yelling across the distance. I headed back toward him. The truck started and came in my direction. He pulled up beside me and rolled down his window. "Hey little girl, can I interest you in a ride?" he leered. I laughed. "I don't know, mister. My mama told me to never get in a car with a stranger." I'll let you play with my stick shift. He rested one arm on the window frame and leaned toward me. I grinned. You think that's gonna get me to climb in with you? I had hopes, he smiled, his voice returning to normal. I shook my head, went around the truck and got in. I slid across the empty space and dropped my hand on his thigh. Do I get to play with your stick shift now, or are you gonna make me wait? His chuckle warmed me inside as he rolled up the window and pulled out of the yard.